Okay, now here's what you need to do. Look at your neighbor and smile at him. So we're going to have a good time today. Coming here to learn more and more about our community and about our law enforcement and what they do. And none of us can do anything without the presence of the Lord in our life. So let's come to him right now. Father, we just thank you as you bring this thing about, as you lead us, as you lead our leaders in our community and law enforcement. It's just so exciting to see today the way our folks, our community wants to reach out into our community to show that we're here. The law enforcement, our sheriff's department, our police departments are here to protect and to serve even more than ever. We thank you for your presence. We thank you for your love. We ask you to just take over, have your way in everything, and we give you praise for that and the preciousness of our Lord. Jesus is the one I pray to, whoever you pray to. Thank you. Amen.
Before we get started, I know I've got a lot of preachers in the house. I do want you to understand that there is going to be some mock violence, a little bit of vulgarity, but it's what we face every day. And we want you to understand that in these role-playing situations that you see this. If you've got a bad heart, please understand that there's going to be a little bit of dynamics going on, and be prepared for the things that we face every day. So stand by.
Can you guys hear me? Good job. Listen, we want you guys to see stuff. We're going to go really quick. We have Mr. What's your name, sir?
Trent Carter.
Mr. Trent, he's going to be with us, and he's playing the role of a law enforcement officer today. We want you guys to see it from our perspective, okay? I'm going to be playing the role of an FTO. He's going to stop a driver so he can see it firsthand. Normally, once we get out the car as a field training officer, he listens to everything that I say, and I protect him and the person that's driving. So an FTO, field training officer, has a strong job. So watch this. We're going to look at it, and we're going to stop a driver, and he's going to stop him. And we're going to go from there. You ready, Mr. Trent?
Yes, sir.
Let's go. Approach the car. You're going to ask him for his license and registration.
Driver's license and registration, please. Huh? Driver's license and registration. Roll your window down, please. No. Driver's license and registration. Okay. Is that far as you want to go down, sir?
You want to go down further?
Yes, sir.
I don't trust you, man, straight up. Just hold tight, I get for you, okay?
What do you mean you don't trust me? Roll your window down.
Hold
Let's step out of the vehicle.
Hold on.
That's good.
Let's step out of the vehicle.
Relax.
Am I under arrest?
Good job.
Am I under arrest?
No, sir.
Well, let me get my driver's license and registration, okay? You give me my time, okay? Just back up, man. Be so scary. Hold on.
I can't see your hands on.
Okay. Want me to get out? I get out. Want me to get out? All right. Oh, man, I left it in the...
Hold on. Be back in the car.
All right.
Stay right here.
What you want me to do? Oh, you said I want under arrest. Why you touching
You're
me?
not under arrest here.
Okay.
Kind of jumpy on me.
All right, what you want me to do? You want my driver's license registration, or you want me to do hokey pokey? What you want me to do? I don't have any weapons. I have a driver's license and registration I can get for you.
You got any handguns?
I don't have any weapons. I don't have any Man, I'm on my way to work, man. I ain't got time for this, man. What you stopping me for? Can you tell me why you stopping me?
Speeding.
For speeding? Where your radar? You ain't even got a radar. All right, well, let me get my registration. You want to get it for me?
No, sir.
All right, you want me to get it? What you want me to do? Come on, man.
We're gonna break right there. You see how that went? Let's give Mr. Trent a hand. Listen.
Thank you, sir.
Listen, that's good. And I'm going to tell you what I saw from Mr. Trent. It's awesome because it's raw. Now, he hadn't been trained or anything, but guess what? He knew to kind of control the situation a little bit. And what you guys didn't see from Mr. Trent was he was shaking like a leaf. He was shaking. And this is what I want people to understand, that sometimes we shake because we're people. We got families. And we understand on the other side, that's somebody's son and daughter. So even in that altercation, even in that traffic stop right there, we got two human beings. Well, this is two lives. So you couldn't see what I saw, but Mr. Trent looked back at me. Guess what? Officers do the same thing. When we're training new officers, they look back at us. Why? Because we've been doing it a while. And he looked back at me and I said, go ahead, keep going, because this is the real training. We can train officers all we want to, but when you get out in the real world, this is the real training. Good job, Mr. Trent. Thank you so much, okay? Thank you. And thank you, Deputy Marshman. Thank you. Get the belt to your next guy. Thank you so much, okay? Thank you so much.
As you can see, this traffic stop here was merely a speeding citation or a speeding ticket or trying to preserve the lives of our public out here from people running up and down the road. Could you imagine law enforcement traveling up and down your roads without law enforcement? Your drunk drivers are killing a person a day in the state of North Carolina. You've got speed-related accidents. You got young people driving up and down. You've got to have this to go up and down the road to have safety. And what the officer encounters, he thought it was going to be a simple violation, and then we end up where we're at today. The next situation that we do is going to be the same thing as a female going to work, and you'll evolve into seeing what happens and how quick. Law enforcement, when they put that uniform on of the day and they walk outside to go to work, they never know what they're facing. And this is one of the scenarios that you're about to embark on now.
We're going to, I think we're up for videos, Sheriff.
Okay. All right, we'll go into the video part of it and to give you a little bit of background on what we're doing every day.
And guys, be mindful of this. We want this to be as raw as possible. I'm glad to see a lot of young people in the building. We want this to be as raw as possible. We opted not to get into scripted question because when we're dealing with the real world, nothing is scripted. Everybody should have said amen to that. So what you're going to see, we're going to try to have some balance. We're going to show you some videos to where law enforcement getting assaulted. And we're also going to show some videos of where we didn't get it right. We didn't get it right, and the officers are going to jail for it. So we're going to show you some videos, and we're going to try to keep some balance. Because it's all about training, because at the end of the day, death is death. Okay, so understand it, okay? Can we dim those lights, Sheriff?
Who's got the lights in the back?
Crank it up. Crank the light.
I'm very proud to state that I'm a police officer. I've been doing this job for 15 years, and fortunately that injury did not end my career.
You, as a police officer, you don't want for helpless. I mean, you're used to helping people, and that's the worst feeling in the world, to feel that helpless. That's my job. This is my profession. This is what I chose to do.
this state. And somewhere in this country, there is someone wearing a uniform or wearing plain clothes. They're stopping a car, they're searching a house, they're driving up a driveway. And their antenna is up, and they're saying to themselves, something just doesn't feel right. This is not some regular call. And you know what they are, folks? They're afraid. That's the law enforcement elephant in the room. They're scared. And you know why they're scared? It's not because they're cowards, but because what flashes in front of their eyes is everything they have to lose. Their families, everything that's important to them. And when that happens, and while they're still scared, and while that fear is there and everything is flashing through their minds, and self-preservation screams at them, run! They do not. They go in anyway. They stick it out. And they see it through. That is why I love them. And that is why I agree with them.
You hit the lights. As we were talking, you see the film here. You know, used to look across America and see this violence and chaos. North Carolina's 10th largest or the 8th largest state we have now. We've got a population that is growing every day. It used to be in Florida. It used to be in all the other areas, but it's here in North Carolina now. It's in our communities. What we're trying to put together today is, I want it to be very interactive, and the kids need to see this, but I want you to look around. The number one threat to society today on law enforcement officers is this person from 17 to 29. How many of you are in here between 17 and 29? Raise your hand. Our churches, our communities, we've got to bring this in and bring it together. If it's really a problem and people say, well, all these issues going on with law enforcement and community, the community needs to stand up and say, hey, we demand this, we want to know what's going on. We can't do it after an incident's happened. You know, and as you can see today, it's common sense. We're up against a threat today like we've never seen before. We're also in a time where when a law enforcement officer tells you to stop, get your hands up, lay down, it don't mean to fight, it don't mean to run, it means comply. I can only imagine what it is in our school systems. You know, education is paramount, and that's what we're going to talk about on the side of law enforcement. But even in the classrooms, we have to embrace the educational system for us to be able to get education. If you have disruptions in the school, you don't have education. And that's what the community has to recognize. But I applaud you for coming out today, being part of the community and looking and seeing what we face every day. Law enforcement officers, they say, well, maybe they're too fast to shoot. When you leave here today, or they're too quick to pull their gun, there's some things you'll know. If a law enforcement officer pulls his gun, he has a paramount amount of paperwork to do, and then he's judged on why he pulled his gun, and then there's repercussions. We also have the fact if he's too late or too late getting out of the car, what might happen. These are the things that you have to put yourself in perspective and understand what we're dealing with every day. And when you leave here, you'll see the difference of what's going on in America. And as we go through, I'm going to narrate it, but loosen up. We want you to understand what we're doing. It's going to be a lot of role playing. There's no question when we started putting this together of a scripted question. As your sheriff in Nash County, I don't do nothing scripted. Matter of fact, the notes and stuff I do, I probably write them down about 2 minutes I come in here. I'm speaking to you from my heart. I'm telling you what we face every day. I don't have to get up here and read from a teleprompter. I've been out here for 30 years. Trooper Clee Atkinson was my partner in Edgecombe County for 14 years. Matter of fact, he still picks on me every day. He can look at me and tell what my thoughts are. because we work together every day. He sees what's going on. He knows what's going on. He's out on the front line. I'm not every day, but my girls and guys and allied agencies are. We're seeing what's here. But you that are here, I want you to educate the rest of the public to say, hey, you need to come look at these things. Find out what's going on. It's a community problem. And in these areas where there's violence and all this stuff going on, economics is not coming there. And when you do not have education, you have poor economics, you have more violence. That's one of the things we want to reach out, and I'm proud of Nash County and Edgecombe County for reaching out doing this today, because it shows that we're on the proactive end of it. When we first started putting this program together, Trooper Atkinson called me and said, hey, we want to put this together. Some people said, well, no, it's too fast. We need a little bit more time. When you're in a crisis, you don't have time. You need to deal with it. You need to put it on out there. Well, what if I ask you a question if you don't know? Well, if I don't know after 30 years, then I'll refer it to Clee Atkinson, or I'll refer it to Henry King in the back of the room. Where you at, Henry? Would rock him out with internal affairs. But somebody in here can figure it out. You know, it's not rocket science. It's about being good citizens and good neighbors and us living together. But as you go on through here, I think you're going to be highly surprised at the violence that's out here. And you'll also see the number of times that things are quelled. And also we'll reach out and show where law enforcement has made mistakes. And when we make mistakes, as supervision, we got to correct them. That's the reason you entrust us to manage the law enforcement end of it, and that's what we do. And that's how we keep integrity within the community. We might, as we're sitting in here right now, a law enforcement officer go out here and make a bad shooting or do anything. You know, we're people and we're humans. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that it is dealt with. I hear this of, well, it was a racist cop. You know, I heard that for 30 years. But now what are you seeing? It's not the white officer. It's black officers involved in it too. They're killing black officers. It's criminals that are attaching on to something to be able to carry their endeavor of criminal activity further. We're very tied in with the Drug Enforcement Administration and Homeland Security. You know who is really capitalizing on this moment right now? Is our drug cartels that are bringing in the drugs, the human trafficking and things of that nature, because they think that law enforcement is handicapped here. And it gets into your community. How many of you know that crack cocaine is back on the rise right here in your city right now? Do you know what happened in the 1990s with the crack? That's where a lot of statistics come from of your young black males, of death, not only from taking the drugs, but also what's attached to it, the violence. And now we've got something new in the arena, and I say after I've taken office for 2 years, what's on the rise today? I'm going to ask anybody in here, can you tell me what it is? Heroin. And who is heroin attacking? It's attacking the white American. That's where it is. So you've got crack on one end. Drugs are non-biased. If one of them won't get you, the other one will. And you've got these type things going on in the community. I can only tell you that the violence will rise. It really never hits home to you until you go home and you've got a loved one that is addicted to it. Our drug officers did a raid this week, and when they go in to inform the wife of what's happened, she vomits on the floor. Because you know what comes with addiction to heroin and crack cocaine? All of your life savings is gone. Violence, ride-by shootings, all that stuff, because that's the game that you're in today. Besides that, you've got to have the thought of law enforcement of what you've got to do. You've got to have somebody to reach out to. But not only should you be here, man, every community preacher needs to be in here too. You know, they need to know what they're facing every day in the churches. Our school teachers, our schools, and I want to thank the school system we have in Nash and Edgecombe County. I think they do a very good job, but we've got to stand behind these people. All right, we're going to go ahead with some other videos and some role playing here. If you've got a bad heart, pay attention. Might have a little bit startling moment here, but just bear with us as we go through it. We don't try to scare you, but we want you to recognize that it's reality and what these guys and girls are doing every day. Okay? Thank you.
Hello, I'd like to welcome everyone again on behalf of the Nash County Board of Trustees, President Carver, the faculty, staff, and students of Nash Community College. My name is Greg Bauer. I serve as both an emergency management instructor here at the college as well as a police officer. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome you, along with our community partners, to such an important conversation today. We have an opportunity here, both as citizens and law enforcement, to join forces and make our community even stronger. Recent events call to our attention, more than ever before, the need for a preparedness and a connection with the community. We are, after all, a community college. Our goal is to help build and better the community. The college is grateful to be a part of this community forum, and we appreciate your attendance today. This time, I'll turn it back over to Nash County Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Guys, how many times have you ever gone to... Have you ever had family that like to fight? Come on now, we're here to have fun but learn at the same time. I got a lot of family that like to fight in my family, okay? And so I know I may not be the only one that's gonna show up. So we've got to know how to deal with some things. And we just want to expose you and have fun. Could you belt up for me? Can you stand up for me, ma'am? These are going to be our two officers for today responding to a domestic call. You're a little smaller. So I'm going to ask you to just hold on to it, okay? Yeah. You still in shape. You still look like you're a student. You get my age, you start eating. I may tighten it up a little bit so you be comfortable, okay? Okay, these two young people are responding to a domestic situation. We know they hadn't been trained, but we're going to let you see what they're exposed to. Just kind of let it hang. Hey, y'all come with me, okay? All right, here's what they got. And we also got in a vest. Somebody, Mr. Trent told me a while ago, said this is some heavy stuff. And it is. It's some heavy stuff that pulls down on your body daily. It pulls on your body daily. So we suit up. And this is how they suit up. They hadn't been trained, but this is their scenario. This is their scenario, okay? We want to do real life stuff with our young people. And I'm glad to see these young people. How old are you, sir? How old are you, ma'am? 21. So these are the people that need to be in here. This is when you see these empty seats, and I'm glad you brought these babies back, sir. When we see all these empty seats, and then we wonder why things happen. Okay, here's a scenario. Lieutenant Moore's going to coach y'all through it. 1, 2, ready, go. Watch out, Sheriff.
Here we go. All right, you ready? So you're going to arrive on scene. Now I want you guys to go on in and take control of the situation. Go ahead and take control of the situation.
Get off me, man. I'm trying not to hit him, man.
Get them separated. Get them separated. Okay, try to move off to another area. Try to move off and talk to them. Get between, turn around, slide around.
Okay.
Pull on off. Now start talking to her. Try to figure out what you got going on.
She started on. I ain't got nothing to do with it. I come home.
Dumbass over there. He come home all night. Okay. And he's sitting out cheating on me. That's what you're doing out cheating on me.
Can you have a seat for me? Can you have a seat? Okay.
I need you to calm down and relax, okay? Dishes are dirty, the food's dirty. She's telling lies.
So can you just tell me what's going on? He's still talking. He's still talking. He's still talking. You guys keep talking junk. Keep talking junk.
Look, I need her out of my house. This is my house.
Tell you what.
I understand. I called y'all. I want her gone. I want her out of my house right now. That's all.
Calm down. You can put your hands down. You can put your hands down.
I don't got a gun. I would have shot his ass.
I just want her out of my house.
Tell me one more time. What happened?
Every time I come home, she's got somebody in the house. She's always got them drug dealers in here. She's always selling herself for the thug. And I'm sick of it. I want her gone.
He's telling lies. You hear him? He's telling lies over there. You hear him?
And I'm gonna.
What you gonna do about that? When he's telling lies, he can't do that. Gonna let him.
All right, you control of it.
That's a good job.
Good job.
Good job.
Good job.
Now, one of the things you got to look at is you were lucky to have two officers here today. Thank you, Commissioner, for being here, Wayne Outlaw. I appreciate that. 543 square miles in Nash County. How often do you think we're going to have two officers and we've only got 5 working the road? How does one officer handle this? And that's reality. One officer. Or if you leave this, y'all can have a seat. Thank you. As volatile as it is, we're backed up on a call or two. These people are sitting at home, fuming, fighting. What does continued aggression end up in? Very big violence. So that's the type of things that we're seeing daily, that the law enforcement officer. Luckily today they had 2. but how quick that can turn, okay?
To tag Sheriff Stone for a second, this is one of the most dangerous encounters we can go to because we're going, and the reason why we're not going to show some of these up-to-date videos and shootings going on, because it's still an investigation. But anytime you go to somebody's house, one thing I know if I go to a police officer's house is what? I don't hear a response. It's what? If I got to go to a police officer's house and domestic violence, one thing I know is what? It's a gun there. So some of this stuff is common sense. So when we train, we've got to be armed with the information that we have. And so we've got to be skilled enough to make sure we do what we're supposed to do properly. We're going to give you guys a concealed weapon stop. This is big because one thing we're finding out is a lot of people got weapons. And a lot of people have been to the training to carry weapons. Well, what breaks down is the communication between the person that's driving and the law enforcement officer. So this is a concealed weapon stop. We're going to get you suited up real quick. Your name, sir? I like everything about you besides the Carolina hat. So we got a problem already.
You just sit in, you'll be the girl.
He's still talking about the Tar Heels and I'm putting them on the vest.
We're going to have to move. You'll have to turn your attention over here. And this is a scenario that we run across every day. You know, I'm a carry conceal instructor. I believe in guns. Our office issues them out every day in North Carolina where we're at. It's protection. You need these protections today. But you've got to understand, you have to follow directions. You have to have responsibility when you've got a gun. And I know that the news has portrayed all these things out here today. It's very simple on this traffic stop. What to do as a carry conceal person. Walking up to a car, we automatically have to assume that everybody has a gun. And usually if we've got time to run the information on the car and the person, it'll show that you're a carry conceal person. And it automatically tells us that you've not got 29 of these violent tendencies about yourself. So instead of bringing up the alarm of a law enforcement officer and taking him by surprise and he starts shooting, it probably reduces him in his threat because he understands now he could have got on crack the night before. You never know that, or something could have happened and made him turn south. But for the most part, this person is a law-abiding citizen because if you're not, in North Carolina, who has the responsibility to revoke that carry conceal? It's the sheriff in each county. So we try to keep up with that. All right, you'll see the scenario as we play through. All right?
Let's go.
You're making a traffic stop for a seatbelt violation. Can y'all hear? Okay, he's told him that he has a carry conceal and he's got a weapon on him. If you automatically notice, anybody carry conceal has been trained, keep their hands up where you can see them. If it's at night, they're trained to turn the light on in the car because who dwells at night? The devil. So you want to be able to see these type things when he stops him. So he's automatically told him that he's got a carry concealed weapon and he's got his hands where he can see them. Go ahead. You need to speak loud. He can't hear you.
You need to stick your hands out the window.
That's not a problem.
Excuse me. I'm going to open your door. I need you to step out the vehicle, sir.
And this is for a seatbelt violation.
It's working. Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
this is not trained. This is untrained stuff.
Untrained.
Yeah, this is untrained stuff. But watch this. He controlled and he told him what he needed him to know. He helped the law enforcement officer. And when we come into a concealed weapon course, a whole lot of times, Sheriff Stone's the instructor. Listen, when you got a weapon on you and I'm a law enforcement officer, I want him to know I got a gun. And I'm not moving. Period. Mr. Law Enforcement Officer, I got a gun. And he told him. But what we do, we restrict a lot of movements. Because look where he has that weapon. Sir, I need you to keep your hands on the steering wheel. Don't move, please. I don't even want your driver's license. I need for you to tell me who you are. Because I can go back to this computer and run your license and information and see a picture. So I need for you to stay where you are. Don't move, because guess what? Now he's got a gun and he's got a gun. And when two of those mix and we don't communicate, we've got a problem. So he's got to communicate, he's got to communicate.
And you got to listen when he tells him, don't make no sudden movements. What do we not do? Don't go jumping around in that car, because he don't know, the law enforcement don't know. He asked him to get out of the car. In reality, we don't ask you to get out of the car. 30 years with the patrol, and many of law enforcement officers in here. And speak up, guys. What do you do? Hey, don't go for your gun or anything. I'm going to write you a ticket and you'll be out of here in a minute. It's the end of it. He asked him to get out of the car, but did you notice the shaking on his hands? We're in a controlled environment. Now think about 3 o'clock in the morning, where the guy, when you stop him, he says absolutely nothing. And you ask him to do something and he does what? He does nothing. Or you tell him to step out of the car and he don't step out of the car. Or you tell him to walk around the back of the car and he starts walking around the front of the car. Or he's reaching his hands in his pocket and you say, don't put your hands in your pocket. And before you pay attention, he's got his hands in his pocket. That's the little type things that we do. But don't be alarmed by the carry conceal. We teach our law enforcement officers, we teach to carry conceal. Turn the light on if it's night. Roll your window all the way down. Because if I keep the window about this far up, what's it doing? It's two things it's doing. One is hampering communications. And the second thing is that we automatically know as a trained law enforcement officer that you're what? Trying to be defiant, or you're hiding something. So that's the little things that you do. But as far as law enforcement, I got many of you in here. Do you see real issues with it, guys? You don't. We see it every day. You got to remember, we're down south. Everybody's got a gun. Yes, ma'am.
Lieutenant Moore. Lieutenant Moore.
Very good question. I get asked this quite often, and my scenario is, if you're running 85 miles an hour and you meet a black and silver patrol car and he turns around in the road, why is he turning around? Because you're speeding. If it looks suspicious and you knew you really weren't doing nothing on, everybody's got a cell phone. Turn the light on in the car so that they can see. Reduce your speed. Don't keep driving 70 miles an hour. And if you feel that something's going on, call 911. Say, look, I've got a law enforcement officer behind me, such and such location. They'll call out, and then the law enforcement officer will tell them, this is who this is, or they've already called it, and then you know. But say something would happen and you couldn't. Slow down, turn your four-way flashers on, and drive slowly to a lighted area. Now, don't drive behind the house and jump out the car and run. I mean, we've seen that one too, and I laugh when I say it, but it's reality. You know, reduce your speed, go to a lighted area. If you're all over the road, if you've had one too many drinks, then obviously you probably know why they're stopping you. But unmarked cars, our unmarked cars have plenty of blue lights and sirens on them. Listen for the siren. If it's at night, it's law that we have to activate a siren. And not everybody can get a siren to put on a vehicle.
And one of the biggest things that, what was my gentleman's name, sir, with the UNC cap on? What's your name again? Mr. Chris said the worst thing that scared him to death right there was when he got out the car, when the gentleman got out the car. That's why we ask you not to get out of your vehicles. Because now what we've done is we've made the confrontation equal. We always want to try to have the upper hand when we're dealing with these situations, so that way we can keep control of the situation. But once the person that we're dealing with gets out the vehicle, now we've made everything equal. That heightens the level of concern for the officer. That's what he asked me to tell you guys. Make sure you stay in your vehicle.
All right? Pay attention to this next stop here. As I told you, it might get your blood pressure up a little bit, but you'll be all right.
And Sheriff Stone, this is Tag Lieutenant Moore. Even if somebody gets out of the car, we should be skilled enough and trained enough to know that something's not right.
Not right.
So if he stays in the car, if he gets out of the car, we should be skilled enough and well trained enough to understand that something's not right. Okay?
And you'll see this in some videos that we do in a minute. These law enforcement officers are trained by these videos. All right? All right, hold your ears for you children in here, because it could be loud.
You ready?
Why'd you pull me over?
All right, break.
As you can see, she's trigger happy. But that's how quick it can happen. And nobody, you know, we talked about, well, we'll turn the noise down so that you can see it. We want you to see what reality is.
You all right? Yeah, I'm okay.
See,
Scared him to death.
that's how quick something happens. His reality, it can happen, and it can happen in just a minute. And he knew it was coming.
And let's give Mr. Jones a round of applause. He didn't know that.
But you look at these things, and the number of law enforcement officers, 86% increase this year. There's emergency personnel today that's not even dressing like a law enforcement officer for the simple fact that they don't want to be a target. That's the type of situation that we're dealing with today. When other public servants don't even want to put a uniform on to be identified close to what a law enforcement officer does. Look at the vests these guys wear. They don't wear it to be cute. Think about how hot it is in these natures to keep this up. Clete?
Thank you. We're going to go to some videos, guys. Is this stuff helpful for you?
Are you seeing?
Because we're going to have some real talk in a minute, and we don't hold back. We got all these law enforcement guys in the back. We're going to have some real conversation in a minute, but I want you to watch some videos. You're going to see some where we crossed the line and did not get it right, and you're going to see some where we got it right. So it's the human nature. But I want you to listen to, you guys familiar with Denzel Washington? Yeah, woo! Yes. I want you to listen to what he says, because we got supervisors all in the building from Edgecombe, Nash, Rocky Mount. We got Chief from Nash. We got so many supervisors here. Watch this. A lot of law enforcement guys are underpaid, they're overworked, work second jobs, and sometimes you bring a lot of unwanted stress from other places to your job. So these are some of the things we got to watch. But listen what Denzel says, and me and the sheriff, we talked about it. Listen to what Denzel says. Can we dim these lights, please?
So where's the office back at the division? Yeah, in the office.
All right, we pause right there because Denzel got some strong language after that. However, a lot of times, guys, and this is the fact of the matter, a lot of times the Nash County Sheriff Department may not have about 1 or 2 guys working. A lot of times the Edgecombe County Sheriff Department may not have 1 or 2 guys working, but 1 or 2. The Rocky Mount Police Department, National Police Department. Guys, we're understaffed, and we do the best that we can. The Highway Patrol may have 1 guy working the county, and your mama sitting out on the side of the road. This can be tight at sometimes, and then people, when we get to where we get to, people are rolling their eyes, they're angry, and now we got to play mediator because of certain situations we can't control. So from a supervisory standpoint, can you talk about the shortage of law enforcement? Any other supervisors in the building, feel free to come forward, guys. You guys can speak on the shortage, and which contributes to what are some of the things that we're seeing today with these shootings and lack of manpower.
Always remember, if you've got manpower, except for the few ambushes that we've had, it reduces the threat. We work a criminal interdiction team, and what we have to do with criminal interdiction, we're on I-95, whether we want to know it or not. Only a slight turn off the interstate. Matter of fact, you don't even have to stop, and you're in our communities. What do you think's traveling up and down the I-95? Man, not only drugs. I've often said as a young trooper here, if I was looking for bin Laden, I would drive up and down the interstate if he is in America. Everything that we have as far as criminal, good, bad, whatever, travels interstate I-95. And one of the ways that we deal with this out here is the amount of law enforcement to the presence of it. But now, look in Dallas, when people go on these rampages and stuff that are military trained and everything, it's not the number of law enforcement that are tactically trained here. These people don't mind dying. Look at Baltimore. We're going to talk about that right now. The chaos that was in Baltimore last year. If anybody rode through the communities and looked where they were burned, the buildings were burned and had all the violence there, who's living in that community now? The citizens. The people that come in and stirred all this up was who? Paid activists. The media taking these sound bites, putting it out here, and then the poor people that can't live there, and the law enforcement officers, if they say, well, you know, I've got all these issues, they're not giving me a chance to defend what I did, which finally, a year later, it's finally come out that these officers were clear in what they did. The community's burned. The community's sold. And who has to live there? It's these young children and families and stuff there. They don't even have their own grocery stores to go to. So that's the reason we have to have strong community support, so that we see these things, and when outsiders come in, they're coming for money. I mean, they make money off of doing these type things. So we have to be mindful of that, just to keep you up and keep you knowing what's going on. Clee?
Guys, we're going to show you a scenario, and some of this is graphic, guys. And law enforcement, it's graphic. We do a dirty job. And when you talk about doing protecting and serving, we're out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning while everybody's asleep. You guys won't see when blood is on our uniform and our hands are broken, and our ankles are broken, and we get up and do it the next day. My son, he's over 20 years, he's seen that. He's seen when I had to throw away uniform because of somebody else's blood. So you're going to see a scenario right now where we got it wrong. And then what I like about the guys that assemble in this room, if we get it wrong, we can admit it. We're grown men and women. We got it wrong. But we use it for training, okay? This happened in South Carolina, and I think this officer is facing 20 years for murder. Am I correct, Sheriff?
That is correct. He's pled guilty, and he's waiting sentencing at this time.
Have your license, please. Get out of the car! Get out! Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
I just got my license. You mentioned my license. I've got the license right here. I have my license right there.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind.
This is one of the scenarios that you see where, as he said, law enforcement, we were totally wrong. You know, often they say, well, as I spoke of earlier, that that it was aggression the law enforcement officer had when they do this. From what I've seen, is most of them are mistakes, but this guy here, look what he's facing today. It goes back to training. It goes back to education. It goes back to supervision. Guys, raise your hand in here as supervisors. There is more supervision in law enforcement today than ever before, and you really need it. It's an awesome amount of responsibility when you can take a person's civil liberties from them. But you have supervisors out now, they're trained. Our training is enhanced so much now, you're probably more so than any other profession out there. But it goes back to education and profession and things like that. But why do you think this guy was so quick with his gun? You don't know what he just left. You don't know the situations where he was at. You don't know the actions of going on. But at the end of the day, justice will be served in that. And that's one of the things where, as law enforcement, we got to be accountable for our mistakes. I've often said the good law enforcement officer makes a traffic encounter or makes a law enforcement encounter, and when he leaves there, even if you have to arrest him, that people understand that it was business. And we tell them this all the time. But get into that car, there was no communications between the two. I doubt he just said, well, I think I'm going to shoot somebody today. You know, it's not happening. These law enforcement officers are going home to their families every day, and they're part of the community. What you've also got to look at here is, what films has this law enforcement officer had to see? What carnage, what funerals, and then when these type, what we're up against today. But as the people need to know that, hey, we're going to hold law enforcement accountable. We have internal affairs, each agency has that. You have a district attorney's office. We have the State Bureau of Investigation, who just got a new director yesterday. We've got the Justice Department with the federal government. If you're really thinking about doing menace and doing criminal activity, would you want all that coming down on you? I don't think I would. I think I would just wake up in the middle of the night, and if I went out and did something, who then would be looking at me? The primary agency where it happened. You definitely wouldn't do it with a film on. And it amuses me that the media says, here's what we got going on. And you videoed it. A law enforcement officer knows, let's don't video it if I'm going to do it. Nash County Sheriff's Office and many other agencies here now, we use these video cameras, and that's how we police our police. But it's not that the police are not being policed. It's what they're up against today. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What was his justification for the shooting?
He jumped back into the car and he said he was scared. He made a sudden movement. That's the reason we have training. That's the reason we train law enforcement officers. You know, so that he can say it's totally wrong. He's facing 20 years from prison now, and believe me, he'll go to prison. I mean, how many of y'all go to work every day and you're put in a predicament where if you make one slight wrong, that you're going to prison? Because, you know, no second chances. I mean, I'm going to ask, how many other places you go to work are you burdened with what a law enforcement officer is burdened with today? I don't know any more that's wearing bulletproof vests. Look what these guys and girls get paid. I mean, I don't think none of them right here are making what they should be making. It's one of these things where they're judged more today than anything. Yes, sir. Right, and you know, you look into, yeah, they're not videoing a heart surgery today. If a doctor's finger slips and he cuts somebody and they bleed to death on the table, I don't think they're sending them to prison for it. You know, but a law enforcement officer, where's his finger at? He pulls his gun, he's scared. Just a fraction, he pulls the trigger. And it's the, you know, that's where we're at today. But that's the reason that we've got to demand that we have the best of the best. You know, when I first got in law enforcement, there was probably 2 or 3 guys with a bachelor's degree. I know with Nash County Sheriff's Office right now, you got 4 or 5 with master's degrees, you've got 15 with bachelor's degrees. We've got an educated workforce now. You know, we're moving in that direction. I think law enforcement, you're seeing more and more of that today. Probably 16 to 18 with associate's degree. Thanks for what Nash Community College is doing. It's making it possible. Have you looked at the law enforcement EMS center that they built over here? We understand that this public structure is really something that we've got to have to be able to have the things that we want in society.
Sheriff Stone, can I tag you? And we need to move on from this video, so because we're going to have 45 minutes to an hour dedicated to you guys for question and answer, because we're going to have a lot of question and answer. But here's the elephant in the room. Have you guys ever seen a scared police officer or deputy? See, when you talk real, you talk real. So we don't have time to play today, and I share with the guys. You share it here because when you go home to your dinner table, I should have said this, I should have asked this. So when you work, and you've been doing it a long time, you can see if some guys are shaking in their boots. But that's when a skilled law enforcement officer comes through and you say, I got you. Because what we do as skilled law enforcement officers is this. I'm going to help this guy keep his job because if I see he's scared, I can teach him, I can guide him. That's in any profession. You guys agree? So we're going to be scared. Some of us are scared. But that's when the training comes through. That's when the training comes. Because if you're not scared, sometimes we're dealing with a guy that's out of control when you're wearing all this stuff. So we have seen that. But training is big. Training is big. And training. Communication between the public and law enforcement is big. Your questions here in a few minutes is going to be big to all of us because we want to hear what you guys got to say. We need to hear it. This is the only way it's going to get better. Sheriff Stone, hit this next video. This is why we train 2 guys. This is what you call assault.
Get your hands up. Get your hands up. Turn around. Turn around.
The question there is, guys, and let me show you something. Can you pop those lights real quick? The question there is, he's dealing with an unarmed man. Would he would have been justified to hurt him, that officer, to hurt that unarmed man? I'm asking the public. And these are the things that we've got to really, really talk about. I can tell you this, and I can look around the room with a lot of law enforcement officers. I've trained with a lot of these guys. I'm the kind of guy is I can hurt you and almost kill you with my bare hands. If you fight me, I'm not worried about being armed. I'm trying to make you think. I'm not worried about being armed because I train to not only protect, but if all costs, I can cut your wind off. I can shut your wind off. And if you can't breathe, you're dead, right? And I can take off all of this unarmed, and I can hurt you. It's just that simple. We've got to realize this. I can hurt you with my teeth. If I really think I'm going to die, I'll bite you around the neck like a dog, and I can snatch your windpipe out. We deal with a dirty world sometimes. This is the 1% to 2% that we got to get people to understand. Most of the people we deal with are good people. Now we go to cookouts, people invite us to good people. But it's a small percent of people that are some tough people. In law enforcement, it's 1% or 2% that the sheriff and the chiefs know they got to deal with. And that's an elephant in the room too. Does the sheriff know who his problem children are? The chiefs know who their problem children, the major know who his problem children are. And we're going to work on that. But let us work on that. We know this. We know this. But keep in mind, I don't need weapons to hurt you. Can I borrow you, sir, for a second? Yes, sir. Come here for a second. Real quick. No, I'm pushing because we want to open this thing to answer the questions. How you doing, sir? What's your name? Nick. Nick's a big boy. Have a seat, Nick. This is just something that I do with people all the time, man. I just want you to say I can't breathe, okay? I can't breathe. Say it now, Nick.
I can't breathe.
Say it now, Nick. Could you say it? Say it now, Nick.
I can't breathe.
Say it now, Nick.
I can't breathe.
He can breathe, but it still is a tactic, and I can hurt him. If I cut his windpipe off, say it now, Nick. It's the difference.
That now it's reality. You can breathe.
Here's the thing. If you do it and do it right, he can talk to me. And this is what starts on with training. If I do it right, talk to me. I can't breathe. But if I do it wrong, I'll kill him. It's training.
It is scary.
It's training.
And it's also scary when there's people out here that can get a law enforcement officer. When you shot an unarmed man, if he's on top of this law enforcement officer in just a second, how quick is death when he takes this gun? I call it a community gun because if he gets it off of his hip, whose gun is it? It's anybody's gun. That's what you're against today. And our average people, man, I commend you over and over for coming to see this.
Yes. Here's a situation where we got it wrong. Not to condemn any law enforcement officers because we're all in the building, we're police and we're deputies and we're troopers. We get that. But here's a situation where we got it wrong. We got it wrong. Get those lights, please. Somebody. And we use these videos for training. Sorry, sir.
And you're going to have him to ask the question.
That's really, really quick. Keep the lights out real quick. Sheriff, I'm going to keep pushing so we can get to the audience questions. People, we got it wrong. Can everybody do like this? We got it wrong. And we've got to be as a community, because at the end of the day, when we derobe as law enforcement officers, man, I introduced myself to Mr. Joyner. What did I say to you, Mr. Joyner, when you met me? That's it. I'm not a trooper. I'm clean. But this time we got it wrong. So we go back to the drawing board and we try to figure it out. How did we go wrong from there?
And it's going unnoticed. Some people think he's not. He's under a $500,000 bond facing murder charges.
Yeah, he's facing
There
murder.
is implications for when they do things wrong.
You guys familiar with I-540 in Raleigh? This is one of my training buddies. This guy probably won't say 2 words to you if he walked in the door. I showed this video because he's retired now. But he's one of the more skilled law enforcement officers I've ever been around. But watch how behaviors turn from nasty to good once you figure out who gains control. This is an awesome law enforcement officer. This is I-540. Watch the bad guy's behavior.
No, we did have to get confirmation on that stolen traffic, and we're looking at the shift change. Yeah, we appreciate it.
Get in the car. Get back in that damn car.
What the fuck is wrong
Back in the
driving
car.
like that?
All right. Turn around. Get on the ground. Get on the ground now.
I'm on the ground, man.
Turn around. Get on the ground.
All right, I'm on the ground. Okay.
Now, what you got to recognize here is this is a law enforcement officer that is in very good physical fitness. He's a defensive tactics instructor, and the bad guy just jumped out on the wrong one. But what if he would have jumped out in a new recruit that would have been intimidated? He wasn't going back there to hug him and tell him have a nice day. He was going back there to cause damage. You can't tell if they're black, white, female, male. There's no telling what you're going across today, but I can tell you this would have been an officer killed. If you look and you didn't notice, the trooper clocks him running 100 miles an hour. Do we just want him to continue going down the road? Not only is that officer jeopardized by this, but he's also jeopardized by running 110 miles an hour to go catch him. I worked in a county, and I won't call it a county, and this was in 1990s, running slick tires on a car because the county didn't have the funding to put tires on a car. And you're expecting them to get out here and do things of that nature. That's the reason you got to be equipped to do these things. But that's something that you don't really notice until you notice it. But how quick on a rainy day, right in the middle of the day on 540, would you see this type of action going on? All right, Cleve?
Yeah, strap the other gentleman on, Sheriff. Guys, what you just saw right there is exactly what you said. I trained with this guy, and Sheriff said a mouthful.
You little policeman.
He said a mouthful. He jumped off on the wrong guy.
You just come through basic law enforcement.
What I want anybody, and if you're skilled law enforcement, you got to understand this. We don't bag up. We train not to bag up. I don't retreat. So when you come at me, I don't retreat. When that guy ran up to my buddy right then, we talked about what went wrong, what went right. So you jump out like that, I don't retreat. I need for you to stop. Please stop. Please, I'm begging you to stop. I shared with Sheriff Stone and so many officers in the back. I almost killed 3 people here in my 20-year tenure as a trooper. One was a 14-year-old guy, young boy, that bothers me today. And we talk about in law enforcement, they give us a test to get hired, but they don't give us a test sometimes over a 30-year span because of what we see and what we go through. And I think about that 14-year, because all the Rocky Mount Telegram would have said was state trooper shoots and kill 14-year-old boy. And the only one could make him lay down at 2:30 in the morning, his mama came out the house and said, lay down on the ground for that trooper. And I said, what is wrong? What I'm saying to you people is this. What is wrong with society when we have no regard for life? Because if you point a gun at me right now, I'm laying down on the ground and I'm getting still. Because I regard my life. This is what we're dealing with. Watch this real quick. This is our last one. And I want to show this at the very end, Trooper Coates, and we're going to get to your question and answers. And I want to just go a little bit forward so we can skip a little bit.
This Friday, no next Marine was 6 feet of muscle tone.
This is a big boy. This video still bothers me today, and it happened in 1992. South Carolina State Trooper gets shot, and you can hear him gasping for air. The guy that killed him, little short, stocky guy. This guy's a Marine, ex-football player. He's in shape. But guess what? When we're not on top of our game, things happen. And it's not always black on black. Sometimes it's white on white. Sometimes it's black on, it's society. It's society. So watch this, guys.
By regular workouts.
Watch the bad guy. I'm just moving forward.
The reason you want to see this also is, here's why officers tell you what to do, and they want to see your hands. Watch how quick he dies because he don't watch his hands.
Right up there, okay? Yeah, that'd be good. I just don't want you to get run over.
This is a chilling video, and law enforcement across the nation, it scares all of us, and this is an old video.
And it's happening weekly
You
now.
don't have any knives or nothing on you? You mind if I just pat you? I just want to make sure you don't have any knives. It's just something we got to do. You don't have any hand grenades or nothing in there? No, sir. You got your wallet. Take your hand out of your pocket.
look at it for training. I know all the officers in the back, we train differently now, right? Officers are the troopers already been shot. So right now what you see is the state trooper is dying right now. He is dying. South Carolina.
And he dies on Interstate 95, right on the shoulder of the road. And in society, who's going to stop and help him? Nobody, because you're not equipped to do that.
Right now you see his organs failing. He's dying. That's what we see. We're going to do a quick demonstration because I'm going to push guys because we got to answer so many questions. Watch this real quick. We got another. I'm going to get the young lady first. This is what we want. We're going to have fun a little bit. Every time they see a threat, I need for the audience to yell out threat. Can y'all guys do that? 1, 2, 3. Come here, young lady. We're going to have some fun real quick.
And you got to remember now, she's in better shape than some of our officers.
You got your gun belt on?
Yeah, she's got it on.
All right. You got a taser? I gave her a taser. I wanted you to hold the taser in your hand because we don't have a holder, okay? So come right here for me.
And fix the gun where she can get it out.
Okay, you got to make sure you get
she
your
might
gun
need
out.
it.
She's got a small waist. She's holding her, we're going to tuck this vest. We're going to do this so it'll hold up, okay? All right. All right. All right, here we go. We want her to jog in place. Right. This is simulating that somebody's running from her right now.
Hold your belt with one hand.
You got to jog in place.
There you go. All right, watch in front of you.
And get your finger off that
Get your knees up.
Let go of the trigger.
You're going to tase somebody already.
All right, there you go.
If you see the back, if y'all see threat, we need y'all to let her know. Say threat. If he pull a weapon out, we need everybody to say threat. Keep running. You got to run.
You're not going to catch nobody running like that.
You got to yell out a little bit louder than that.
You got to help him.
What? No.
You got to go catch him. You got to go catch him.
He's getting away from you. Get on him.
Get to him. Slow him down.
Get out of here. Take him out of here. Take him out. Jonah, take him out of here. Take him out. Wait till the next guy goes and get it. Wait till the next break and get it.
Girl, leave me alone.
Let her know you got a bottle.
Are you going to run up to him? What you going to do?
Keep running, keep running, keep running.
Go get him.
You better go.
Get him.
You got
What about your gun?
Watch his hands. Watch his hands.
What about these blind corners he's running around?
Look at
But
that
you got to catch him.
Talk to him. Tell him to put it down. Tell him to stop.
Talk to him.
Let me see your hands.
You got to talk to him. Tell him what you want him to do.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Stop running.
As law enforcement, if she don't catch him, who is? That's what we're up against.
There you go. Good job. Let her know.
Watch that corner. Watch that corner.
Where's your gun? What you gonna do?
Get ready.
You gonna pull it? You not gonna have it? What you gonna do?
There you go.
You stop running.
Good job, people. Good job. You had to put down the knife.
Watch that knife. Oh,
got a gun. Pull your gun out. Pull your gun out. Pull your gun out. Pull your gun out.
And you waited and you're dead.
Good job.
Very good. Very good.
Were you tired? Hold on. Let's talk to her. How old are you? What's your name? Clara. Clara's 13. Were you tired a little bit? Kinda. She's young. She's in shape. All right. So imagine somebody like me to like these cheeseburgers. Hey, we're winded.
Or you just left Golden Corral.
Yes, exactly. Where's Justin? Send Justin running through the back. Remember to call out threat. Take it out the back. Take it out the back. Go ahead and get it. Yeah, go ahead and get it. Go ahead and get it out the back. Keep running.
Keep running.
Oh, you looked at that and
Yes, sir.
stop.
He put brakes on.
Keep running. Keep running.
Keep going. Keep going. We're going to get you there.
Keep running. You got a taser, Lieutenant? Give him a taser.
See, I got you.
Justin, you're not gonna run nobody down like that, son. You gotta get over.
I got to back him up. That's a different scenario. I'm sorry. Hold on. Good job with threat. I like that. Good job with threat. Keep running.
Keep going. Don't forget to give him commands when you see him. Tell him what you want him to do when you see him. Give him commands. Give him commands.
Sir, let me see your hands. Let me see your hands, sir. Sir.
What do you want?
Freeze. Freeze,
What?
sir. Freeze.
No.
Freeze. Sir, stop running, sir.
Get on the ground. Watch that corner.
Tase him.
Don't forget your commands.
You got a taser. Keep running. You're getting winded.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Watch out, Sheriff. They can't see. They can't see.
Tell him what you want him to do.
Sir, I need you to get on the ground, sir. And stop running.
Talk to him. Talk to him.
Don't make me chase you, sir.
Hold your ears.
Go. Go. Keep talking. Keep talking to him.
Get to him. Get to him.
In law enforcement, look where you're at today.
Keep going.
In churches, in businesses, you're sitting there, and this is what can happen. What is the only thing that is the line between this type of thing
Keep going.
and you going home peacefully? Look at the type guns. You say, well, here it is. That gun's about a $200 gun. And they've been in America since the Vietnam War and even before Vietnam. So that's the things that we're up against today.
That was all right.
Thank you.
Keep going. Keep going.
Keep going. You don't forget to talk to him. Give him your command.
Tell him to stop.
What do you want him to do? Tell him to stop. Get on the ground.
Keep running. Keep running. Or whatever. Walk. Run.
Sir.
Put down the knife.
Get the weapon down.
Tell him to stop. Tell him to stop.
Stop running, sir. Get on the ground.
He's got a gun.
Get on the ground.
Get it out. Get it out.
Get it out.
Good job. Good job. Good job. So you guys can see really and truly, as law enforcement, pop the lights, guys. As law enforcement, we see some things we got to work on.
Good job.
We honestly do. We see some things that on the flip side of it, the community has to work on. At the same time, we're in that millennial age, and you guys got to understand what the sheriffs and the chiefs of police and the majors, you guys know what they're hiring? They're hiring young people. And one thing we've taken away from young people are communication skills. Come on now. Come on now. Because all they do is this. So if we recruit them as the police, what you think that they don't know how to talk? So we play a part in this. How we're raising the children in our homes. So who the sheriff or the majors and the sheriffs and the chiefs are going to recruit? They're going to recruit our children. And if they're steady doing this and don't know how to talk to people, and this is a talking job, right? And if they don't know how to do this, how is it going to get better? So we start one child at a time, in our homes, one at a time, because we're going to get old. And I'm going to tell you this before we get to Q&A and go ahead and back to sheriff. It's a tough day in law enforcement right now. Am I right, brothers in blue and silver and gray? It's a tough day because I can tell you right now, if they lower the retirement age to 20, you won't have too many police around here to protect and serve you. We're wondering who's going to spit in our food when we go out to eat. We're wondering who's going to flatten our tires when we go somewhere. We're wondering if we're going to get ambushed to go to somebody's house. So this hurts the good people because we're slow to move. And we know what happened in our communities. And it's a sad day when law enforcement get together and our heads are down. Like any other, on the flip side, to have some balance, families' heads are down because these seats need to be filled. This is the only way we'll get an understanding. But it's a sad day when you got law enforcement going up to the retirement saying, hey, when can I get out of here? This hurts you guys. I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to retire. And we're going to talk about some more other things. But keep that in mind, people that are in the building. We've got some good law enforcement that's ready to say, listen, we're sick of this. Am I by myself? The people that's in the building, I can stand alone. Because when you don't have an understanding between the public and the law enforcement, it makes for a tough job. Okay? Now turn it back over to you.
Okay, you've seen the scenarios now. I encourage you to ask questions. Media also, put it out here, ask us. Don't feel embarrassed, don't go home. We want you to know, the law enforcement side, get our answers that are thoughts of yours. So come on through and let's start here on the left. Yes, sir.
My question is...
Here you go. We got a moderator that's going to do it. And pick your questions. Don't be embarrassed.
Okay. Thank you.
If you guys have questions and you don't want, and you're uncomfortable standing up to ask, you can step right in the back where Sergeant Winstead and Lieutenant Finch are standing, and there's some paper and some pens back there. If you're uncomfortable asking a question, write it down, and I'll come and get it, and the moderator will read it for you. Thank you, David.
First of all, I want to thank you for putting this on. I think it's needed, and I think it may save lives. I really do. And second of all, I want to thank you guys for what you do. My question is, and I am concerned about certain things. I'm concerned when an officer is killed, and I'm concerned when a civilian is killed as well.
Sure.
And this recent, these things that are going on where black guys get shot by the police, that's bad for everybody. My question is, first of all, the taser, is that encouraged? I mean, because to me, I'd rather zap somebody than kill him.
It's encouraged to a degree, but you got to remember, they're not always 100% reliable, plus it's 21 feet. And I'll ask you, if you've got a taser in your hand, how many hands do I have? I have 2 hands. If I've got a taser in one hand, which hand am I going to have it in? It's going to be in the hand that I'm most proficient with. How long does it take me to recognize a threat? I've got a taser in my hand. What's the average reaction time of a person? 3/4 of a second. Now it's going to take me another 3/4 of a second to pick this up. Oh my God, it's not a threat that I need to use a taser. I've got to drop it, I've got to pull my weapon, I've got to get it off safety and fire it. I'm ready for a pine box. Tasers are fine in the area and the realm that they're in, but in a deadly situation, or I'm walking up to a car and it's an unknown situation, it's not. Now, a combative person and he's just fighting, the taser is absolutely wonderful. But what about if I deployed the taser and now it's not working, it's not reliable? What have I got to do? I've got to drop it and go to a weapon if he's coming on top of me. And during this transition, he's coming on top of us, as you see here. But they are good. They work in their realm, but they're not the answer to all. Thank you for the question.
Real quick before we get to the questions, can we give a big hand to all the law enforcement people for putting this on? And just so you know who's on the panel, we have Reverend Green, who's a chaplain with the Nash County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Keith Stone, as you know, Trooper and Highway Patrolman Clee Atkinson, and Lieutenant Henry King with the Rocky Mount Police. Please raise your hand before you ask the question. The only big rule is time, not speech time. Just ask a quick question. Now.
Good morning. My name is Jack, and I am a teacher at Fairview. I was wondering, we talked a lot about officers going through training. What exactly does that training look like? And is there any racial equity training? Because that was a conversation that I've had with some of my friends. I've done that as a teacher, going through racial bias training before stepping into my classroom. So is that a component of law enforcement training?
You start.
Yeah, certainly. Rocky Mount Police Department implemented fair and impartial training. Chief Deputy Medina was one of the one of our employees at the time that him and 2 other employees went to fair and impartial training. It teaches you about your bias. Everybody in the room has a bias. We all have biases. But the training helps you be able to recognize your bias when you're dealing with the public. So yes, the Sheriff Department has been through fair and impartial training. I believe that the Highway Patrol has been through fair and impartial training. So it is a part of our training on a daily basis. We continue to rise above what's changing in the world by having things like procedural justice, treating people with fair and being fair and impartial, treating citizens with respect and dignity. Because we have to have an open dialogue and communication. We have to communicate. Citizens have to communicate with the police, and we have to communicate with you guys. And the only way we can communicate is having forums like this and reconciliation. Because guess what? We get it wrong on both sides. Just like Troop Atkinson said, we get it wrong and the citizens get it wrong. We have to sit and have open dialogue and figure out to come up with a plan and work together. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Anybody else on the panel wanted to answer that?
Just to tag Lieutenant King, we can do more. We can do more in law enforcement. We can do more in the faith-based community. We can do more as a father in my home and in the community. We can do more in the school system. So to answer your question fairly, this group here, we can do more. You can do more when it comes to our racial biases.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Johnny Cunningham. First of all, I want to thank all the law enforcement for your service, your courage, your commitment, and your passion. My question is, statistics show that Rocky Mount, North Carolina is the 4th in the United States of America as the most impoverished, and it ranked in that top 10 as the most violent. They also, APD Solutions did an intensive assessment of the entire city, Nash and Edgecombe County, about 2 years ago, and have indicated that there are 15 African American impoverished communities. And when you look at your crime and your violence and your drugs, these elements are coming from these communities. My question is, what would you say to the black leadership in the city of Rocky Mount and the surrounding counties, as far as the churches, when you look at the structure of the leadership of the city of Rocky Mount in particular, all the strategic departments in the leadership position are African American. But when you look at this poverty and the status of some African Americans in the city, they're very poor. What would you say to the African American community, the churches, the faith-based community, and the administration?
Thank you.
I would like to start with that. You're exactly right. We find more violence in the more poverty-stricken areas. What do we have to do? Man, our faith-based community has got to step up their game. Our community leaders, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. Where are they at today? Yeah. Why are you not sitting in here? You're quick to complain, but you're not fast to make change. You know, my thing is look at Rocky Mount. We've got to come together, remove these biases, whatever they are, because at the end of the day, if you're a community leader, I need to quickly remind you, you work for the people. And when we work for the people, we need to be accessible to the people. And if you're too good to come to these forums and too good to ask questions, well, it's probably time that somebody needs to reconcile and say, hey, here's what we need to do. But they need to listen. But carry this back. It might be that people have gone unnoticed with it, but I'm going to let the preacher refer to more of the faith-based stuff. I can stick to the law enforcement side of it, but more of the faith-based has to come from a preacher.
Well, you're exactly right, and this is what has to happen. We have to get involved. We got to care enough to show up at forums like this. And we got to encourage our people to come and be a part of forums like this so that you can interact, so that you can have this dialogue, you can have conversation between citizens and law enforcement. And so I too applaud law enforcement for this type of forum that says, hey, we care enough to let's talk before something happens. We tend to react when we need to be proactive on a lot of things, and this would help to care of a lot of situations. You know, if I know what's expected of me when I have an encounter with law enforcement, if I know what's expected, what I'm supposed to do, what are they looking for me to do, if I know they're looking for me to put my hands on the steering wheel, then when they pull me, that's automatically where I'm going to go. Or if I know they expect me to put my hands out the window, or if they expect me to stay in the vehicle, I know this. And so I can already comply. I can help them to help me. Because at the end of the day, we all want to get home. And so that's the thing we got to do. We got to get more involved, more active, and participate more in settings like this so we can get a better understanding.
Thank you, Reverend Green. Do you have anything?
Mr. Joyner, can I tag both of these gentlemen for a second? Man, I tell you, when you start talking about community work, and a lot of guys know this, man, I work harder out of this uniform than I do in this uniform. Mm-hmm. See, we've got this thing backwards. We work all day and we say, I'm done, and somebody else's child needs us. Mm-hmm. When an ex-felon get out of prison and he's done his time and he's paid for his time, how dare he not be able to work in a factory, literally a Paris pie shop? Mm-hmm. This is what's destroying our community. If he's done his time and we're willing to give him a chance to get back in the economic realm of working in our communities, then we do that, CEOs and business leaders in our communities. Because if not, they're going to break back in your homes and in your businesses. Mm-hmm. We understand that as law enforcement. If as fathers sitting out here in the community, we've been given instructions to train and to teach and to lead, and we're nowhere to be found. That goes for law enforcement. Mm-hmm. That goes for law enforcement and non-law enforcement. If you're a man and you're not taking care of your child, we've got a problem in society. The next thing is this. We've got children that can't read. We've got children in failing schools. We've got children that fend for themselves the next day. And so as you grow up, you find that who's fighting for me? Does my life matter? Whether it's black, white, or Hispanic, does my life matter? If my life don't matter, then we're going to be on the front lines in these poor neighborhoods. Then you're going to have encounters with police in the faith-based community. We don't just work on Sundays and prayer meetings and Bible studies on Wednesdays. We've got to work Monday through Saturday to get some of these things accomplished. So you say, what's the problem? I tag Sheriff Stone. The seats are empty when we vote for people that don't even act like this matters. This matters. Mm-hmm. Because you've got to prevent this stuff before it comes. I look at the law enforcement in the back of the room, and I know they work endlessly, and I know they're tired. I am concerned about what happens outside of law enforcement. Because we get it. We're going to be on the front lines if it blows down quickly. We're going to be there. The question is everybody else going to have our back, and if you're going to be there? Because there's so many systems that are failing right now, and we all can get better at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am Reverend Alice Johnson Curl. I'm the pastor at Trinity Lutheran Church here in Rocky Mount. My question first, I want to also say thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone who's here. But my question, I understand that there needs to be collaboration. I understand that there needs to be a recommitment to community. I get that. My question is, if I make the effort to extend invitation as part of the leadership of the faith community, will I have response from other components of the community? That's my question.
As far as components, exactly, though, just to clarify, so they can answer it.
Okay. I mean in terms of the law enforcement, as well as others who are pointing and saying the faith community needs to do something. I am not saying that we don't. And some of you who know me are aware that I challenge my colleagues, my clergy brothers and sisters, all the time. I don't know where anybody else is. I'm here this morning.
Thank you. Amen. Thank you. I can speak to whether or not you can count on these guys. If you got a program, or if you have a need to bring law enforcement into your church, I've done numerous of Know Your Rights campaigns at my church and other churches in the community. And these guys will show up. They will show up and they will be there and they will do whatever you need them to do. They will come through and they will do this on their off time. And that's what Trooper Clee was saying. These guys work tirelessly, but yet still, when someone calls in the middle of the night, their kid is in trouble, these guys are, hey, let's roll out.
Let me tag you on this. This last Sunday, I was in 3 different churches. Can we do that every Sunday? It's kind of difficult. Me, myself, I can't. Other leaders can't. But we do send representation. And probably they don't want to hear from the sheriff. They want to hear from one of my road guys that's out there all the time. Definitely, if you reach out to our offices, and I know Rocky Mount Police Department, man, if you reach out to us, we're going to be there. And a lot of times with Nashville Police Department, on things that I can't get there, the chief's there or he sends his representation. You got to remember, it's not the county, it's the city, it's our community. And as law enforcement, man, we're pretty well on the same page, and that's what we're trying to get to. So to answer your question, definitely, and encourage your churches to have us to come in, because that's one of the areas, but also don't forget the schools. You know, we need to be in these schools and doing things. We have SRO programs, we have DARE programs, but anywhere there's a community, we need to be there. We are part of the community. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm just so overwhelmed with what went on here today. And I'm so sad that these seats are so empty. I want to commend our Nash County Sheriff Department. First, my name is Minister Edna Mount from Middlesex. I do not pastor a church, but I do pastor a world of lost souls.
Amen.
And I am an activist for my community. I'm involved in a lot of different things. I wear many different hats. And first of all, I like to have a working relationship with our officers, whether they're the town policemen or whether they're the county sheriffs, our highway patrols. I'm also involved in voter registration. And as I sit here today and watch the things that went on, I see all this on my television screen, but it was nothing like what I saw here today. It was for real. It was in action that we could take apart. And I am making a plea today for our community to step up and take their stand at the podium where they are supposed to be, because no one entity can do it all by themselves.
Amen.
You're right.
Together we stand, or divided we certainly will fall.
Yes, ma'am.
I could talk from now until the sun go down and it come up tomorrow, because I am very knowledgeable as to what goes on in our world on a whole. I'm not just one part. My scripture said I should be concerned about the whole man. And that's where I stand today. And I want to applaud you again for this forum. And I will go back to my community. And I will be a big mouth.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. All right.
Thank you, Ms. Edna.
I would like for everyone in here to give this a standing ovation.
Thank you.
Standing. Okay. I just want to know how effective the community watch programs have been.
Good question. Thank you.
Community watch programs, Nash County Sheriff's Office has it, Rocky Mount has a similar type program. They're very good, and for the simple fact is, you'll have one law enforcement officer work in a community, but when the community watches the community, we all have tip lines. Rocky Mount has a tip line. We have the office you call. We have very different community watch systems. Picking up the phone, calling 911. I see this. A lot of times things don't pan out when you call, or it's nothing to it, but at least we know. See something, say something. Communities got to work together. Sure, it works. And when you see a suspicious car in your neighborhood, don't tell me that it was a white male 6'2" and hadn't had his shirt tail tucked in. Give me that license plate number. That's the type things. Write the license plate number down, and then we can go from there, or give a good description. You know, it takes a community to do it. And at the end of the day, who's going to watch your house better than you and your neighbor? So definitely they work, and I encourage more of that. Thank you, Doug.
I have a quick twofold questions. First of all, I noticed that the windows are very dark on that one unmarked car, and I thought there was some sort of a limit as to how dark they could be, because you can't even see inside to see if there's 6 people in there. The other half of my question is there any special training going for being aware of people with autism or mental illness?
There is, and you know, as far as mental illness, and I'll let the other guys eliminate, we're having a crisis in America right now finding help for mental illness people. You know, these businesses aren't here. Dorothea Dix was closed. Where do these people go to? They end up back on our streets. My jail has got about 280 people in it right now. A lot of those people do not need to be in jail. They need to be in mental health places. That's right. There's a difference in criminals and mental illness. Now, sometimes they do criminal acts, but a lot of times, if we could get them the help, they wouldn't be doing it. I want to reach out to the chief in the back here of Nashville. What they did with the HOPE program. Chief Bayshore and his city manager put together the HOPE initiative, where you're taking heroin addicted people and sending them off and having help for them. And it's coming at a cost of donations and things of that nature. But they're not criminals. They don't need to be in our jail. If they come in and ask for help before they get caught with a charge, we try to send them off and get them help to bring it back. That is what we've got to do more of, but it is very difficult now to find it. But then again, I go back to hold your elected officials accountable.
And can I tell you?
I can't do it, they can. Yes, sir.
Can I tag you, Sheriff Stone, for a second? He's exactly right, guys. I mean, and I'm going to yield to Lieutenant King. He's exactly right, guys. I mean, I've had guys who were mentally unstable hand me guns on traffic stops. Could have went bad? Yes. But I recognize real quick, like, this guy's not all with me. And so when you put that mix with law enforcement, if you're not skilled enough and trained enough, and still I was in a bad situation, that's what we've got on the street. We have systems and resources that are not here. And guess what? We had to wear so many different hats. And if you're not skilled enough to deal with that, it can go bad. So we've got to have some systems in place. And I applaud Sheriff for saying what he said. A lot of people don't need to be in jail. I would love to have the Nash County Jail not have anybody in it, but we all know that can't be true. So even in that, guys, we go back to our elected officials and we get some of these resources back in place. We need them. As law enforcement, we're begging you guys. We need these resources, mental health resources. We need them badly.
And our officers at the department, as well as Nash County and the Highway Patrol, have been through crisis intervention training. So we'll talk in the 40-hour training that, hey, we have resources available to us when we identify individuals that don't need to go to jail, that they need mental health. That we can call out the mobile crisis unit to come out and help them. We can find out who their care providers are and get them routed a different way to IVC and not put them in jail. So yes, ma'am, we're trained, we recognize that training, and we involve the different entities from over here at the hospital.
Hi, my question is, I'm looking around at the empty seats again. We go back to that. How was the information put out to let the neighborhoods know about this forum? The only reason I found out because my husband works for the paper, so I know about it. If you're not reading the paper, if you don't have you guys on Facebook or whatever, how would the other communities know about the forum? The communities, the other churches that are not affiliated with people who are a part of, say, the departments or whatever.
I have to refer that to the sheriff.
There were mass emails sent out to every single person I could find. We did the whole week. We had information broadcast on 3 different radio stations that were local, 16 times per day on all 3 radio stations. There was the information that was placed on our Facebook page, and there was mass emails sent out to all of the radio stations, TV stations, and everything that's around. So I mean, we put out as much as we could. I just don't know why people didn't respond. I don't know.
Let me tag you a minute on that. One reason is, unless you're in a crisis, a lot of people won't come. and I understand this is a proactive means to it. The next thing is reach out to your friends and tell them to follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. A lot of times, even my office says, social media, everything goes on social media. You want transparency. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. We put the good, the bad, the ugly, we put it all out there, and we encourage this type of stuff so that you do know. But you know, they say, well, we don't have a computer. If you're under 30 years old, I bet you got a cell phone. And on these cell phones, you can follow us every minute. What's going on in the community? And a lot of times we'll have a drug arrest or something. They'll say, I saw officers with a gun out or an unmarked car. If you'll follow that, you'll see the type things that are going on. Yes, ma'am.
I worked for years in mental health, and when I had to retire on disability, shortly after that, the mental health system was decimated. I worked at Coastal, I worked at Edgecombe Nash Mental Health, and once I left, really I got out just in time. But I see so many of my former patients. I work mainly in substance abuse, but a lot of substance abusers have underlying psychiatric problems. And I see them, you go to the gas station or the convenience store, they're there. I ask, how you doing? Terry, I can't get help anymore. I can't get my medicine. And I applaud you. I'm married to a retired police officer for 38 years. I have concerns. I have 4 biracial children. And I worry every time they walk out the door. I don't worry so much. I mean, you hear these national things happening with the police and civilians. Like yesterday, the man that was the mental health person that was trying to help get the autistic man off the ground. He laid down with his hands in the air. What kind of threat could he be? And he was saying, sir, I mean, he wasn't being disrespectful. It was, sir, why did you shoot me? And it was, I don't know.
That's where we go back to training. Thank you for that. That's 100% education, training, and hiring officers that are capable of dealing with that.
And like this lady said, I wish every seat in here was full, especially with young people.
I agree.
I have like 3 sons that need to be in here. They aren't in any kind of trouble, but they have a distrust of the police, even though I'm not anti-police. So many people are anti-police right now because of other things. We have to admit there is, in every profession, you're going to find a small percentage of people that are doing wrong.
Yes.
But the majority of police,
that's true.
They're out there putting their lives on the line for us. But there are bad apples. We can't deny it. And thank God that it isn't here, and I wish you would have these forums more often. I don't watch a lot of TV. I didn't see it. I listen to Sirius radio, so I didn't hear it. I just happened to, there's a group I look at, and they had emailed me, and I saw it last night at 1 o'clock.
Wow. Thank you for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just for a moment, we're going to pause since the mental health piece keeps coming up, and Chief Deputy Medina is going to talk about that because he handles that specifically.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
As law enforcement, we always try to be proactive and address issues and try to get ahead of the curve. Recently, our commissioners approved some additional funding for the detention facility where we will have a program that's still in development, but it'll get rolled out here pretty soon, where we will be screening our inmates on a mental health level, where we will be able to have a physician, if I'm not mistaken, will be able to do a quick intake of the inmates that are either showing signs needing mental health assistance or just based on the behavior that they have during the intake process. We'll be able to outsource them to get the type of mental help. So we are taking a proactive response to the increasing mental health aspect with the sheriff's office that we see, when we have people come in. So I just want to make everybody aware that, the commissioners were kind enough to allocate the funding, and then we're partnering up with the Nash County Health Department, where we will have an individual be able to provide the screening and provide medication and provide the resources once they leave our facility so they can continue the circle. Thank you.
Thank you.
And one piece, just to keep in mind as you're asking your questions, we were talking earlier a lot about these different issues, and so that you get a lot out of the forum, a lot of times we put responsibilities on different individuals that's not their responsibility. And that is at the essence of a lot of this. When we're talking about collaboration, after whether there's murders in communities, people rush to have nonviolence rally and or rally of some sort, and the word's always collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. But we are the people who are responsible for that collaboration. They're being paid to do a job. So when you ask the questions, it made me think about something I want everybody to think about. One of my favorite speeches was from Abraham Lincoln, Secretary of State, and in the speech, he made the point when they were discussing the slavery issue, one of the most brilliant statements I think ever made. And he said in every situation he learned by his experience that in all parties that you'll find vice and virtue, selfishness and patriotism, and that we differ less in our motives than we do in the policies that we pursue. And the point that he was making is that this situation often pushes us to two extreme sides. Whether it's the gun debates, whether it's politics, no matter whatever it is, people run to two extreme sides. We allow that, then we run to those two extreme sides, and then we scream for collaboration. It's a fool's errand. And for us to be able to have these type of forums and for them to be more meaningful, I hope that in the back of everyone's mind, it's our responsibility to make sure the room is full, not theirs.
Amen.
Gentleman in the back.
Yes, sir.
How you doing? I just have a question. Are police officers trained to shoot and kill or shoot and stop? And how do you justify dislodging 4, 6, 8, 10 bullets in an individual?
Thank you.
I'll start off that. They're taught to shoot center mass to stop the threat. If it's bad enough that you've got to shoot somebody, then you've got to stop the threat immediately. Remember, and I teach firearms classes, you don't shoot at a small target because you miss. And if time is of the essence and reaction, you've got to shoot center mass so you can stop the threat. Now, obviously, what this goes back to is you'll see a person shot several times. Let me get you in a chaotic situation, give you a weapon, and somebody is a threat to you, shooting at you or whatever, and you're shooting, you're stopping the threat. You become tunnel vision. It's not a very calm moment. And a person has to recognize defensive tactics, and I've been a boxer, I've martial arts, I'm a black belt. In chaos, you always have tunnel vision and also the threat of survival. So when this threat of death is coming, you've got to stop that threat. You can't just turn it on and turn it off. And they say, well, he shot 7 or 8 times. A lot of these officers never know how many times they've shot. I've been in a shooting situation. I don't know how many times I shot. I go back later and count my bullets and make sure. But they're taught to shoot center mass and stop the threat. But as law enforcement, what we're also taught is the minute that we can secure that scene, we render aid. You know, we're going to try to save that life. We're going to try to render aid. Nobody in law enforcement that I know of wants to kill anybody. That's something you don't want to live with. My brother was a 23-year-old drug officer and ended up in a shooting and killed somebody. He has to live with that every day. I've had cohorts on the patrol, and me and Cleve seen them. The longevity of a law enforcement officer after a shooting or something of this traumatic, it tolls on the body. So, you know, you don't want to do that. But you try to stop the threat, and that's shooting center mass. And not always, but, you know, in a stressful situation, no, you can't aim at a hand, you can't aim at a foot, and you don't use a gun unless it's a deadly situation. Thank you.
And can I
Thank you.
hear
Yes,
before
sir.
Lieutenant King start, and to add to that question, we got guys that can go out in a target and shoot and qualify at 100, they don't miss. But you put stress to it, they don't hit anything.
Right.
So when you add stress to the situation, at the end of the day, we're still human. When you add stress to the scenario, it's a whole different animal. And I do understand where you're coming from. You're talking about the excessive shootings and the excessive bullets. We get that. We understand it. That's where we regroup and we try to figure out what happened. It goes back to what Sheriff Stone said, man, when you lock down in tunnel vision, and that's when another officer, I've seen officers on training video pull the gun down. Just pull it down because this guy's locked on. Ex-Marine, ex-Army guy. That's another thing we got to tag too. A lot of our guys can be ex-Marines, ex-military, ex-Army guys, and we deal with these guys come back from Iraq. These guys are highly skilled, and so that's another entity that we deal with in law enforcement. These guys are more trained than we are, and if they don't get the proper help that they need, we're dealing with a totally different animal. But I think that was an excellent question. That's something that we work on all the time. We have excessive force boards on every department. Why do you pull the trigger on the taser too long? Why do you shoot this many times? So we do police our own.
Thank you.
To echo, plea, the question that you asked, I'm glad you asked because it's more of a misconception question. And what I mean by that is we have programs like the Police Academy where we invite citizens into the police department and we show them how officers train. They get the opportunity to go to the firearms. They're being taught by a firearm instructor. So again, like what the sheriff said, we're taught to shoot center mass. Not shoot to kill, not shoot to wound. But until you guys and ladies come into our department, when we invite you to the Police Academy, you only see what you see on TV. Come in and let us show you how we're trained. It's not a secret how we're trained. We want you to understand how we're trained. So that way when you see things in the community and the public, and you see that the officer's not doing it right, you're going to report that. But until you get educated by the Sheriff Department, the Police Department, or the Highway Patrol on how protocols and procedures are, then you only have your perception of it. Or you may get some wrong information. But thank you for asking that question.
But to clean up, thank you, that's good. But to clean it up, if you shoot center mass, what vital organs are center mass? Yes, those are where your vital organs are. So we do got to understand that. It goes back to something base, man. Get still, don't move, stop.
Don't yield, stop. When they tell you put your hands where you can see them, put your hands where you can see them. When they tell you to stop, don't keep doing it.
Thank you. Next question.
Okay, sorry. Hi. I just had a quick question about, we know that obviously that this whole thing came about because of the shootings that have happened, black men being killed, retaliation against police officers. You've talked about how you do training. I'm guessing the training starts from the bottom up in diversity. How are you addressing the issue now with the racial divide? Are you doing more trainings? Are you changing up how you do the trainings? I see all these things on social media from friends, and I know it's something that being a white woman in America, I'm not going to have to probably deal with. But when I have friends who, are vocalizing it on Facebook, they're saying, driving whilst black, walking whilst black, all that kind of stuff. Are you expanding your trainings? How are you actually addressing that? Because obviously you've had trainings this whole time, but there are a lot of people that are saying that whatever's being done on your end isn't working. Now, obviously, this isn't all of you guys. Obviously, we're seeing some very bad apples on TV. We're seeing it obviously portrayed in a very ugly way. But are you guys addressing it by adjusting your trainings, by having more trainings? What is being done on the police end to just, for this matter?
I think that's a good question. You want to start, Sheriff Stone, with that?
We do, and we have some stats here that we're going to go over real quick about what's going on in America, about the misconception of driving while black, driving. We have stop forms we fill out in contact forms in our office and every other office. And what we found it to be, and these studies are on law enforcement agencies, and what we found them to be, there's no validity to them. Lieutenant, if you will, go through these stats so that you can elaborate on it so that
As I run through the stats, I'm going to ask Chief Bayshore if he'll come on towards the front too, because this is a good time to talk about the internal affairs that the law enforcement community has at each individual department. But some of the facts are that as of July 9th, 2016, there have been 440 police shootings. 54% involved white Americans, 28% involved African Americans. Last year, out of the 987 fatal police shootings, white Americans were 50%, African Americans were 26%. The majority of the encounters suspects were armed and threatening law enforcement. African Americans constitute 13% of the United States of America's population and are involved between 75 and 80% of all shooting defendants, 62 to 70% of all robbery defendants, 57 to 80% of all murder defendants. That's 8 times the rate of other races. 45% of all assault defendants. And the majority, black males between the age of 14 and 17 commit gun homicides at nearly 10 times the rate of white and Hispanic male teens combined. In 2015, the police fatally shot 36 unarmed black males and 31 unarmed white males. And then they talk about, just to give you some context of what we deal with every day, in a general year, we answer or have 54 million interactions with citizens. And there are 671,000 sworn law enforcement officers in the United States. And we generally have 26,000 complaints, of which 2,080 are sustained. And those are the more aggravated level of complaints.
Where'd you get the stats, Lieutenant?
These are from the Department of Justice and also from the Washington Post that had did the same type of studies. Yes, sir. I'm not as fast as Joyner. I'm a little bit heavier than he is.
So just hearing those stats, I can admit that I'm prejudiced. I believe it's a human nature. So do you all see those stats as being like you have to approach a certain type of person and cautious or not as defensive in another type?
No. Okay, can I start? Yeah. Sure. And I can speak for a lot of the guys. I mean, you asked some great questions. You stereotype the criminal element. And when I'm sitting here thinking now, think about my white brothers that are in the western part of North Carolina, man, they knew I was coming in here today. And they said, man, you know, out here we're dealing with trailer parks. Well, down here you may deal with the projects, the low-income housing. So when I talk to my white brothers out west in the western part of the state, they say, hey, man, we're battling meth and trailer parks out this way. So all they deal with is the white population, and it's tough for them. You move further down in eastern North Carolina, we're talking about out of state. You move further east, and depending on what communities you work in, you may tend to stop more of a certain race because of where you're working at that particular time. I got brothers and sisters that are around Shelby and Gastonia, and out in the mountains, man, they never stop a black person, but that criminal element are sovereign citizens. I mean, it's tough. So I don't think, to fully answer your question, everybody's got some biases. And I would be lying to you today if I wouldn't sit here and say to you that an officer may not be prejudiced of some sort. That would be a flat out lie. I think it would be a lie. But you got to be skilled enough, man, and so that way you have superiors and chiefs and sheriffs. Like I said, a lot fall on these guys' shoulders, man, that you got to kind of, and it's hard for these guys to weed out. It's hard for them to. We got to be honest. It's hard for the weed out a guy what he's thinking and what's in his heart. Only God can judge this right here, and God to clean this up. So they're in a tough position to weed out this officer's prejudice or not, or stereotype in a certain community.
Let me tag on that also. You're talking about as far as looking at biases and overcoming it. An officer needs to be profiling the criminal element. If an officer has this bias of, man, I'm only going to worry about the black American, I'm not going to worry about the white female when I'm walking up to the car. We've got the jail right now with people in there that are white young females that are just as deadly as anybody else out there. As you see the Mark Coates video, this guy is an overweight white guy that's driving a Mustang and speaks very feministic. And if you would hear his interviews and stuff, it would make your threat level go down. He won't aggressive, he won't loud. We've got Trooper Blanton that was killed in the western part of the state, and we've not shown that today. He's a Cherokee Indian, one of the only ones on the highway patrol. He's killed by an Asian. And if you would have looked at the Asian guy and say, that guy's not violent, he's quiet, he's easygoing, but he goes from a tone of talking to death and murder within about 30 seconds. And I'll guarantee you if I'd have showed it in here, you'd have had nightmares of it and it would shock your conscience. So to answer that question, no, the law enforcement officer, he's in a bad kind of way because we can't react until we see action, and then it might be too late. But you cannot, under no circumstances, I've worked criminal interdiction. I make criminal interdiction cases now, and I tell you, I don't care what they are. I'm looking at the actions of them. And then when you do stop a black American and he starts all this, well, it's racism, it's all this, I'm senior enough and seen enough in my time, well, wait a minute, that's not what it is, you're hiding something. And I can move beyond that. Or the female, well, I'm scared and I don't like being out here in the middle of the night and you got me on I-95 asking me all these questions. No, honey, I got you out here because you're a criminal element. And then you go back and find out they're trafficking kilos of dope, they're bringing in heroin, they're doing types of things. The law enforcement, that's why it's so paramount as these supervisors to be able to weed through that and see it. And again, we go back to paying law enforcement officers. Man, we only want the best of the best. You know, when you go to get your car fixed, do you want somebody that really don't know about the car putting tires on your car? No, because when you go in a curve, you're in a problem. That's why you need to demand that we have the best law enforcement. And that's why it's so that the law enforcement officers and supervisors uphold that. And internal affairs, we're going to speak about the internal affairs.
Chief Bishop.
If you can elaborate on what internal affairs is and how it's increased since you've been in law enforcement.
Can you turn this lapel mic on, please?
Internal affairs is something that every department has. And so obviously we as law enforcement officers want to get rid of those bad apples. Somebody said something about bad apples earlier. If there's a bad apple in our bunch, we want to get rid of them just as bad as the members of the community. And so if there is something that you see or experience in your interactions with law enforcement, we want that reported to us. If you think about it, and I tell this to community members all the time, if you see something going on in your community, a suspicious looking individual, and you think to yourself, oh, I don't want to call the police and bother them because they got more important things to do, or I don't want to get anybody in trouble, then we never know about that. And what can we do about things we don't know about? Nothing. So if you're calling that information in, then we can pay attention to it. The same thing goes for internal affairs investigations. If there's something in an interaction with a police officer, we want you to report that to us. And it gets investigated. And if there's wrongdoing, then we take measures to get those individuals out of law enforcement because they make all of us look bad. Just whatever you do, you don't want individuals making your profession or your career choice to make you look bad by guilt by association. So report those things to us. We will investigate them. You see this all the time, and especially with officer shootings. What is one thing that you know that's going to happen if an officer is involved in a shooting? What do they say on TV? They're on administrative leave, right? Either paid or unpaid. That's up to the department, but they are all put on administrative leave until those investigations are done. And usually there are two simultaneous investigations that go on at the same time. One's a criminal one, and one's an administrative one. So they are scrutinized, very difficult. So please report that to us, obviously.
Got one in the back. He been at his hand up.
Yeah,
before he answers that question, as far as internal affairs, let me educate you on some things. There were 400 police departments in North Carolina and 100 sheriff departments, okay, because we got 100 county. So understand that the way you go about filing a complaint at Nashville PD, Rocky Mount PD, may be totally different if you're in Chapel Hill or Durham. So don't leave here thinking that a certain agent is going to do things a certain way. They all should take a complaint from you, but some may say you have to do it in writing. Some may say by phone. We take all complaints at the city of Rocky Mount, but understand that everybody does things different. But they should take your complaint. I don't want you to leave here thinking what Chief Bejo said, that it goes for all the police departments across North Carolina, because things are done different ways by their standards at their city and their police chief or their sheriff's office.
Thank you. We're going to get this last question back here in the back.
Not so much of a question. My name is Camillus Dancer from Pine Top, Edgecombe County, and I am with whomever is right, the community or the police. I know most of the people across the state. I remember when the Sheriff Stone used to be a trooper, when I started driving back in the late 70s, early 80s. In the black community, when I first got active in community activism back in the late 80s, the first thing I said was we need a healing process within the black community in all areas. Black leaders have been doomed. I have been speaking out, attending meetings. I know Brother Clee, and like I said, a lot of people in this room, they know me. But I have been speaking out, and because I was a young black man speaking out, I was called a militant by black folk because they didn't understand it, because they were afraid, and I was called a racist by white folk. So the problem you have is the mindset of folk. When people see other people being mistreated, then it follows them. I talk to people all the time, I video, put it on the internet so people can see. They don't have to come. I don't worry about people coming. Minister Mount know me. We were in the NAACP. I'm a life fully paid member. That could be good, that could be bad to some folk according to how they take it. But I've been working on my job for 30 years at Honeywell Aerospace over here. I haven't been to college. I'm a citizen, a fine citizen. So I try to be a role model to folk. But see, the problem is you can't get it all done in this meeting here. Everybody got to have meetings. It should be more meetings going on all the time. You can't say where they're at today. I got other places I could be today. Matter of fact, I got a call yesterday from Greenville looking for the NAACP president down there because they got something going on. They invited me to come there, so you got to pick and choose where you go. But I get so tired of people talking about what the black community is doing. I've been doing this. Other black leaders been doing this. I know what Brother Clee and the minister they're doing over here in Rocky Mount at Thorn Chapel. We got to stop singling out folk. Like I was in the forum last Sunday, coming back from Rocky Mount, rained so hard, people pulling beside the road. I was trying to get to the meeting. I am active. I'm going to put it on the internet. I'm going to put this on the internet so people that won't hear, they can see it. That's what I do. We all got a role to play. You do your part, and everything will fall in place. But do not say we are not doing anything in our community because we are doing it. Just because it's not on the news, it's being done. And I can't save everybody, but if I save one, that's all I'm concerned with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Camille. Can we give our panel a great big hand? And to close, I'm going to pose this portion of it. I'm going to pose one last question or thought that all of you can weigh in on this, because everybody, and it kind of echoes his point, talks about collaboration. Although we pride ourselves on this being the Bible Belt, we forget how much we like to lie and bash people, because we do that in Nash and Nash County just as well as they do it anywhere else. And especially about issues like this involving race, and with law enforcement officers dealing with in the backdrop of the historical terrible times in this country, the times where law enforcement, where people were wearing uniforms and did things that were unjust, and those images play on at the same time where we're still dealing with a lot of violence in certain communities. My brother was shot down in front of my parents' house by somebody that looked like me and was not wearing a badge. And so as we try to deal with the ills of society from your particular perspective, the collaboration piece and the backdrop of a community that likes any other, social media has allowed us to be able to get a lot of cowards to get behind a screen and say stuff they would never say to people's faces. And unfortunately, we allow those people to then blow these things up, and we don't find solutions. We find reasons to be more mad at each other. And so from your perspective, specifically on the law enforcement community and Reverend Green as a pastor, what does collaboration look like pertaining to this particular issue to you? Like, what is it that they could take here and leave? And if it's one thing that they can go and do or go think about that you would like to see? We'll start with you, Lieutenant.
Communication. Communicating with one another, understanding one another, and hearing both sides. Today, we're going to agree to disagree. We're going to have a dialogue. Some of you will leave here today saying, you know what, I have a different perspective of what goes on. And some of you may leave here and say, okay, I learned something, but I still don't like that. But we agree to disagree. If we can't communicate, and if we let our biases control us, then we fail as a people. You have to communicate, because what one police department may do, like the young lady that asked the question about the North Miami police officer, like the sheriff said, that's training, but that's not Rocky Mount Police Department. So don't hold us accountable for what another agency does somewhere else. And in order to do that, you have to communicate. You have to come into our programs that we have, the Citizen Police Academy, to understand how we're trained and what we'll do. We're not taught to do that. And then you have to understand that, hey, if something like that happens, that we're going to deal with it. So the communications piece is what it is. It's getting people to come out and understand and having an open dialogue. You have to have that. The gentleman back there, he's wearing the Black Lives Matter shirt. You have to understand. You don't have to agree, but you have to understand. And the way you can understand is to communicate.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
The Black Lives Matter shirt, he said it best. I can go 30 minutes on that, both sides. But 2 statements. If you're going to make a difference, you've got to make a deposit. You can't give me lip service and you don't have your boots on the ground. If you're going to have impact, that's when you're going to have influence. So all I'm saying for the law enforcement in the building, start in our homes first. Let's teach and guide in our homes first. Every man in the building, pray for your block, pray for your community, pray for your law enforcement community, pray for your church, pray everywhere. It starts with us. All other things, it really don't matter if you don't have prayer in the front of it. So every time you enter your city, enter your block, enter your community, prayer is first and foremost. But get your boots on the ground. If you don't deposit in your home and in your community, all else will fail. And I thank you guys for your time. Okay?
Thank you.
We'll go back and thank you. I want to add to this. Look across the world today. Where's all the violence happening that you're seeing, all of this terrorism across America? Not only do we have to worry about our domestic problems, we've got terrorism abroad now. It's not hit here home yet, but it's on the verge of it. And what we've got to recognize is all of this place where there's chaos is because there's Christianity. Anywhere there's Christianity now, there's an uprising against it. In our communities, I'll leave it with this. Do not let people give you a biased opinion and you've not educated it yourself. Do not watch a 30-second blip of something and not have the fortitude to investigate it fully before you make up your own mind. Just because Sarah down the end of the street or Billy Bob or whatever says something, investigate it fully and find out before you make a decision. And I'm going to tell you, CNN, Fox News, how do they make money? Showing you the most drastic things there is and then causing chaos. They want it because if they come in and show action videos, that's where you're at. And I'll end with this last piece. We did not even in World War II, with Japanese warriors and things of that nature, video the dead combatants against us. Where in America have we got to videoing a citizen that is shot? Where's the dignity? Nor the next thing of a law enforcement officer where his children see him laying on the ground in a pool of blood and they've not even notified them yet. You know, as citizens, we got to stand up and say, we don't want this, we're not going to tolerate that, we're a community. And that's where it comes back to. But as these two echoed, it's communication and it's caring about your community and holding your elected officials accountable. But
Thank you. Reverend Green.
If I might conclude being the preacher and the preacher in me, the Bible teaches us that we're one body with many members. And if we are to be one body, even though we have many members, we got to care about the whole body. We got to care about the whole man. You know, if it was a white officer shooting a black young man last night, this room would be running over. We just might as well be real. If it was black young man shooting another black man, it may be a handful of us here. I got to learn to care about life, no matter whose life it is.
Amen.
I got to learn to care about my sisters and my brothers. no matter what community they live in, no matter what side of the tracks they were born on. I got to learn to care about everybody, you know, and we got to stop this division, and we got to stop feeding what sells, you know, because this will bring more people to our area, so let's focus on this, let's put this in the media, let's put this on the news. Well, this is not so big, but so we won't mention this. Life is life. And we all want to live, I'm sure. And at the end of the day, we all want to be able to go home and to be with our families and to love our families, to love our babies and have our babies love us. And the only way to do that is we got to continue to encourage everyone we know to come to forums like this so that we can have these dialogues, so we can have these conversations. And everybody can know where everybody stands. I'm a firm believer, if you got something to deal with, put it on the table and then let's deal with it. Because that's the only way it's going to work. That's the only way it's going to work. And care about somebody other than yourself.
Amen. Thank you. Real quick. Yes, ma'am.
Let them close out. But first of all, I just want to thank God for all
Thank you.
of the law enforcement.
Thank you.
I'm a firm believer. First of all, my name is Florence Nicholson. I stay here in Rocky Mount, but I pastor a church in Wilson, North Carolina. But I want to close with the Word of God coming from Romans, the 13th chapter. And it tells us, let every person be subject to the governing authorities. That's you all. It says, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval, for he is God's servant for your good. And I'm so thankful for you all, because you all, God has placed you in charge.
I'm sorry, I know a lot of people got stuff to say, but we'll be here all day. I do want to thank Commissioner Outlaw for being here as a representative from local government. We could give him a hand. Thank you.
Also, Lamont Wiggins in the back, thank you for coming.
Oh, I didn't even see City Councilman Lamont Wiggins. Thank you for being here. Did you guys enjoy that? Thanks. Give them a great big hand. Give yourselves a great big hand. I hope that the goal of what they wanted to accomplish today was that you were educated, and I think just from the demonstrations we all were. Secondly, that in your individual way you can find your own path into being a part of the solution, and being part of the conversation, and being part of making a difference. I think we can set an example here in Nash and Edgecombe County for the rest of the country to follow, and I don't say that lightly. And then also, I think the most difficult piece of the last thing that they said is, we got to be honest. We got to put everything on the table. We got to stop lying to ourselves. We can't keep saying we don't have a race issue in Nash and Edgecombe County. Then every time something happens, we talk about race. It starts at Thanksgiving when your family's there, and one of those people are saying something that is disgusting and abhorrent, and you don't say anything. It starts at home. We have to be responsible first. So I think Reverend Kendrick is going to close us out. Oh, I'm sorry. Reverend Green is going to close us out. Thank you.
If we could all stand, and if you don't mind, if you would just indulge the old preacher, let's come together all across the room. Let's reach out and touch.
Yeah, with my bad knees.
I got you. Got old bad knees.
Also, before we go, I do want to let everybody know that there are some snacks and some drinks in the back. And so they're there for anyone who desires, especially all of our children.
Connect in the back, law enforcement, connect in the back.
Law enforcement in the back, if you would come around and come on up. Boy, that's a deep step. Let us look to the Lord. Father God, this again we come before you. And God, we come as humble as we know how. God, we thank you for this time. We thank you, God, for this season. And we thank you for the coming together of this community. And God, we just pray now your blessings upon this community. Oh God, that you would bless our coming in and our going out. That we would be blessed in the city and blessed in the field. God, that you shall get glory out of our lives. God, as the law enforcement surrounds this room. Oh God, we pray that you would surround all of us, keeping us from all hurt, harm, and danger, seen and unseen. God, we just ask now that your word declares one planteth, another water, but it is you that give the increase. So God, we are here today to seek increase in understanding, increase in fellowship, increase in commitment, increase in love. And God, we just ask that you continue to bless us, strengthen us, lead and guide us as we make ready to leave this place. Grant us all traveling mercies. We love you, we honor you, we magnify you. We give you the glory and we give you the praise in Christ's name. Amen. Amen. Boy, you did good.